Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. Hello. All right, Tarrin's in the room. Perfect. So, before we get started, today's episode is sponsored by Mio Marley's. Tarrin, are you coming in from your account or the Real Talk account? And Mio Marley's is a smokable herbal blend company that has these smokable herb blends. And today I'm actually smoking, let me tell you first, I'm smoking the Zen blend because I needed some Zen today. And look at how cool it's pretty. It's so pretty. You see it? It's so pretty. It's got these like blue flowers in it. I thought it was blue lotus at first. It's like sweet pea. Alright. So I'm going to pull Tarrin in here. And we're going to be talking about mental health today, guys. And especially how mental health affects the BIPOC community. Oh, and also before I forget, Bio Barley's, if you buy one of their toke rings, you get 50% off of any of their 28-gram smokable herb blends. So, check out Mio Marley's. Okay, here we go. Let's get Tarrin in. Pardon. I needed this today. Hello.
I'm still waiting for it to connect.
It froze on a really interesting face, and I'm gonna take a screen.
Hey, because I'm like, what's going on? How
How
you
you
doing,
doing?
Jade? I'm blessed. I'm blessed. Just moved to Baltimore, so I have all that hecticness going on, but in the midst of
Oh,
everything,
congratulations!
thank you. Yeah, we'll talk about the reason why I did, and it's very appropriate for this episode. So, definitely glad
Perfect.
to be here.
I need
Yeah.
some crab, please. I need some crab.
Oh, absolutely. The seafood. Ooh. See, I had to be good though, because I'm like, I'm back to working out, eating well. So, the crab egg rolls don't do too good for me, but
Oh,
yeah.
nice. But
Yes, definitely.
thank you for joining us today.
No
Um,
problem. Thank you.
I really don't mind me. I'm not being rude. This is all for mental health.
Exactly. Got to calm that anxiety down, flowing, that's all it is.
I sent you a
Definitely.
message this morning, so I was triggered today.
I feel you. I feel you. Trust me. I got you.
That's okay. So if for the people who don't know, would you care to introduce yourself and tell everybody
hmm
if they didn't read the article that I wrote about you? Tell them
All
a
right.
little bit about what you do and things like that.
Which was excellently written by you, by the way, definitely. But it is the Baldy God, smoothest body, both sides of the Mush and Dixon line. Baldy so smooth they can't believe it's not butter. Mental health professional, miseducation of the people podcast host, CEO and creative director of the Real Talk Session Series, educator, esports coach. I do a lot, but definitely I more so had become really heavy into the mental health advocacy field as of 2017 due to my personal experiences. And then also I have over 10 years of emergency response experience helping out college students who are dealing with mental health issues. So I have both the training side of things and I also have the personal side of things. So, just really trying to do what I can to break the stigma that comes to mental health because where I come from, mental health isn't a thing. It's talked down upon. People are shunned and whatnot. So, I'm just trying to do my part to help out. So that's who I am in a very brief thing. Yes.
Thank you for enlightening everybody. And I just want to, I guess today's episode is really about, talking about the stigma behind mental health. And
Hmm.
and the barriers that that causes for people in general, plus then to add to the fact of being an individual from you know, not even by POC, but LGBTQIA plus community as
Hmm.
well, being able to um, find representation even once you do find help in
Yeah.
the mental health space. Um, could you or would you care to share your story about like what really set you into like
Hmm.
what pushed you? Because I know a lot of people were like, I know, like in my family it was a I'm strong, I don't got to talk about it. Like that's how you
Yeah.
show how you know your strength. You don't talk about your problems. So
Absolutely. So, like I mentioned before, so I come from a family, a community, a school system where mental health wasn't a thing. We weren't educated about it. If we saw somebody walking down the street talking to themselves, we would automatically label them crazy, not knowing that they were going through some type of mental health trauma. So that was ingrained in me early of that will never happen to me. They're different. But then look at I know going down the line, it did happen to me. So, like I mentioned before, I did mental health emergency response for college for many years, 2010, but I couldn't truly understand what they were going through because I still had that programming and conditioning from my past saying that, yeah, they're going through something, but I don't really know what it is. And honestly, like, it wasn't something that I could relate to. It wasn't until, the stresses of life where I experienced it firsthand. So the very first time actually experiencing mental health issues, when I was diagnosed at least, I think I dealt with some stuff when I was a child, just looking back hindsight. But for me, it was really triggered by my job. I had worked all these years, I've done amazing stuff, but I wasn't able to get what I deserved when it came to the workspace. I was producing results and my numbers were there, but ultimately when you're talking about systematic racism, I saw my peers who were of a different hue, and they were less qualified when it came to credentials and experiences getting these promotions over me. So like all this stuff going on and then with me getting my second master's, not being able to find a job, all that really culminated. And oftentimes a lot of our mental health issues are caused by financial stress. And there's been studies that show that too. So that's kind of like what my case was. So I went down the path of depression, anxiety, and at one point I had suicidal ideation. And at that lowest point, that's where I found the message that this is meant for me to continue to live. And the purpose of becoming a mental health advocate, to use my story to help others. That's where it came to me during that dark period. And for many, many, many years, I was looking for a way to combine my passions of education and videography. And that idea sparked during that dark period. It gave me the chance to really tap into the power of myself and saying, like, you don't need these jobs. You have what it takes to make a change. I wanted to make a change in a way that was authentic and unique to me using my skill set. So that's really how I got to this point with mental health advocacy, just breaking it down, because one thing I saw for me was that, I'm college educated. The majority of our country is not college educated. And when you're talking about mental health issues, you have very big terminology and terms that people can't understand. It can become intimidating, so people turn away from it. So for me, I want to take my privilege of having the educational background to break it down in the simplest form where anyone can understand, and so that they can get the help and resources that they need. So that's been what I've been trying to do, really. Well, that's not, I'm changing my words. I'm not trying, I am doing it. So it's more so just finding my unique lane and just taking it full max. And I've been fortunate enough to see that spaces down on the right path, and a lot of people are saying like that they're beginning the help they need. So I'm just very blessed and fortunate, that everything happens for a reason. Life gives us seasons, and there's many lessons in it. You're either going to get those
yeah,
lessons, or you can repeat that season many, many more times, and it's going to be brutal. So,
yeah. I will. This is an aside. The connection is a little choppy, so I hope
I'm a
everybody.
Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I hope everybody caught that. But if not, I'll just reiterate. Taryn went through a period of having like a suicidal ideation, and once he came through that, that really inspired him to help people and really make it's real talk. Like I don't mean to speak on on
Yeah.
behalf of you, but like
I think
it
you're on
is,
purpose.
it's, it's helping people understand, you know, the complexity
Mhm.
of life, of mental health, everything that is, you know, within there, and especially for individuals in communities where, you know, we have lacked the representation for so long.
Mhm.
Um, I can definitely relate to that. Having, you know, I do consider myself a Black woman, but I cannot overshine individual. Like I am mixed. My mother is white, you know.
Mhm.
So it's important to me it was always important for me to understand, like, I was raised as a white woman. So when I would go and speak about these things to people, it was like a total, like, why is she being aggressive? What, like, it was a totally different response I was getting from
Mhm.
mental health professionals or just the world in general, which then led me to feel even crazier than I had
Mhm.
already felt, you know, and especially um, as a teenager, you know, to go through those things. And I'm really glad now that mental health doesn't have so much of a stigma behind it. It still does,
Absolutely, yeah.
but that the younger generations, you know, now are going to have access to this, and they can do better because when we were growing up, you know, our parents, they were like, let me get the belt. You know, their
Mhm.
parents were like, let me get the belt. Then
Mhm.
we had the parents who were, let me get the belt.
Man,
And
listen.
the belt
Yeah.
didn't solve nothing.
hmm And that's all residual effects from slavery. And people don't realize that, if we're not breaking these patterns and we're not healing from what has occurred, then yes, it's going to continue. And at one point, it was very valid of why that stuff occurred because it was real out here. You had to have a certain toughness in during the civil rights era because it was very real. Like even for well, getting into my reason why I moved to Baltimore. So for me, especially within my family, we have a lot of alcoholism and drug usage, and we have a ton of residual effects from slavery. Men not really speaking their minds, they go mute because children were to be seen and not heard. You were not allowed to talk back to adults. So a lot of the people are children hurt children in adult bodies, adult frames. And necessarily, even for me, I'm healing. As I'm healing, I'm seeing more stuff and more observant. And it's one of those things of I had an issue with my father because he's still dealing with his past and he's not admitting that it's still something there, but it's oozing out. I always say to people when you're dealing with childhood trauma, right? It's like a cut. If you do not address it, you do not clean it up, then it's going to turn into an infection and then you're going to be bleeding out onto everyone else. So that's exactly what it has happened. And then when it comes to protecting your mental health, you have to have your peace. You have to not be afraid of speaking your mind because just because you have peace in external, you're not going to have peace in your mind. So
Hmm.
speak what you feel, let it out, because at the end of the day, no one's going to know what's going on. And you have to learn to protect your boundaries 1000%. Because if you're not doing that, then what's going to happen? That inner child within yourself still needs that protector. So by you establishing those boundaries, you're protecting that hurt inner child. So for me, I've been doing a lot of inner child work and I had to separate myself. Like, I love you, but you're still hurting yourself. And like, I can't continue to be the one that's pouring into you when you're not pouring into yourself. So I choose me because that's the thing. We come into the world by ourselves and we go through the world by ourselves, no matter what. So it's one of those things of just learning from our mistakes and making sure that the future generations are better. Like the TikTok kids, I love them because they're actually focused on their mental health. They're putting out the free education stuff out there. So, I have much hope for them because it seems like our generation in particular, we're doing that work. So the future generations can thrive. Our ceiling is their floor. You know?
Yes, absolutely. That was great. And it just, the speaking about like your parents' trauma, like oozing out onto, you know, you and everything. And then that feeling of, and I had even said this the other day to someone, like, the journey of healing, I wish I could say it got easier. It doesn't get easier.
Mm-mm.
You get better at dealing with it. And that's the trick, because and especially when it's your parents, they don't you're still their baby. You're still like, who are you? Like you're supposed to obey. You're
Not
supposed
over
to be
here.
the mini version of them. Yeah, and when you speak
Mhm.
up about it, it's a like me personally in my family, it's a acknowledgement with the eyes, but silence.
Yep.
So you're like, am I crazy right now? And then it has you questioning yourself. So it's like
Hmm.
there's years of mental abuse, I want to say that it is. You
Hmm.
know, call it for what it is. It's mental abuse, and it's because they did not know any better either.
Yeah.
And so I want to put this out there because just in case my mom does watch this, like, sorry, mama.
There is
But
no guide to life. There's no manual. You don't know what you don't know, what you don't know. So,
no,
yeah,
exactly. So, but it's important to recognize that, and you can't take it personal. You
absolutely.
can't you can't take it personal. Like that's really the first step in healing is realizing like you can't take this personally. And even I want to speak on this in regards to racism. You can't take that shit personally. Um,
Hmm.
that is a poorly learned behavioral pattern of misinformation and fear, and
Hmm.
it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean that you don't need to know how to protect yourself and how to move and
Hmm.
everything like that, but just don't internalize things. And I think that has been, like you said, speak your mind.
Hmm.
That was a very long-winded way to
Yeah,
say.
yeah, my fault. My fault. I'm in a talking mood today. The past couple of weeks, it's been rough. Like I said, healing isn't linear. We have our ups and downs. So yeah, but going
Absolutely.
but going back to what you mentioned too about being biracial, people don't realize even with mental health, like there's not that many culturally competent mental health professionals that are out here to help. So, I'm a black man, but there's not that many therapists that specialize in that. As a biracial person, I'm sure that the pool is even smaller to help out with people who can respectively understand what you're going through. So that's the thing, like that we do need more people who are culturally competent and let me say it, who are culturally humble. So cultural humility, this is something where I always look for with a professional. Just because your books tell you what a black person is going through, your book smarts does not out trump the experiences of a black person. So that's what I think I always see with mental health professionals. I always look for that because a lot of people lack humility. They don't
Mm,
know what you're going through as a biracial woman. Like their books may have told you, but then sometimes they may try to use their knowledge to tell you what you're feeling, and that's not the case. Your feelings are valid, your thoughts are valid, and at the end of the day, if you're not getting that, then you deserve the proper. Matter of fact, therapist, it's like dating. If you're not getting that support, gotta go.
yeah.
Like find a person that works for you. Compatibility.
Yeah, that is something I really want to touch on because I really try to, um, recommend. And I know not everybody can afford a therapist. That's
Yeah.
why I do have on my website, I do have a resource on needy meds, and that's
Mhm.
where I found my therapist.
And real
And
quick, that's rxmaryjade.com, right?
yes,
Yeah.
and and I found my therapist on there and it's affordable. And so I'm able to go to therapy every week,
Mhm.
based on your income. It's sliding scale, things like that. And it's like, but if they didn't work, I would try someone else. It's like I have been to multiple therapists. I
Yeah.
told the story on my own Instagram. It was actually from TikTok about how I was kicked out of a mental health session for advocating for myself. And you
Yeah.
know what? They had security escort me out as a teenager because I
Mhm.
told them that they could have, took a couple more lessons and learned how to listen to people.
Mhm.
And I did. I eventually found somebody who listened. I found a group. Then from that group, my experiences changed. I found someone else. And it's like that's the thing. I think people get so hung up on the fact like if you have a therapist, you
Mhm.
have to stay with it. Like, nah, people get divorced all the time. Like it ain't
Yep.
no different. It ain't no different. You gotta make it work. Um you have to be open-minded to realize that. And Len just threw in the chat
Shout out to
inclusivetherapist.com.
Lynn.
Um, you can look up therapists based on what your needs are.
So if you're
Yes.
going through a divorce, you can find somebody who specializes with helping people through that. If you're dealing with issues with your sexuality, you can find people who deal with that. If you need
Mm,
just to speak to another individual of color, another woman, another man, like that is so important because you don't want to have to curtail what you're saying in your
absolutely.
therapy session. And I had done that just about cannabis for the longest time. Like, I can't
Mm.
tell them what we were doing. One, like, we were all smoking a blunt, and
Yeah.
they get me like rehab. Like,
Yeah.
so it's
Hmm.
really important to realize that you are not stuck with your therapist.
Yep.
Shop around. Really, you can find somebody who is for you. Is
Absolutely.
a relationship too, so you have to feel you can trust. Yes, absolutely, Megan.
1,000.
Absolutely. Um, what? Well, another thing that this kind of like brought up for me is the importance of therapy, but also like you can follow mental health accounts, you can follow all these things too as well. But just don't get it confused. If you're going through a crisis, you really need to find someone, find a licensed professional,
Hmm.
not a false guru who is um, posting
Absolutely.
TikToks with, no research behind it or whatever. I don't know if you follow any of those psychology TikToks or anything like that,
I'm not on
but
the tactics like the kids yet. I can't understand it. But I've seen the gurus, the mental health advocates, even like the celebrities who are doing it for clout. Like it's ridiculous, definitely. But ultimately, the main thing is, by the way, I'm not a licensed professional, so don't take what I say. It's more so self-research and training experience that I've been through. But it's more so you always have to look for that licensed therapist. Support groups are good, yes. However, when it comes to professional matters, you need that even when it comes to faith. I'm a very big person when it comes to spirituality. Necessarily, I don't identify with anything. I was raised in Christianity. However, there is something in the Bible says faith without works is dead. So you have same thing when it comes to therapy. You have to go find a therapist, but at the same time, you have to put the work in too to get better. And I understand with some mental health conditions, it makes it harder for you to function and to move forward. But if you can take a small step, change your drawers, wash your face, that's a big win right there. So, taking those small wins and letting them build up like a snowball, because that's what's really important. So, yes, find a mental health professional, but in the meantime, you can journal, get outside, get the vitamin D because that's good for you. That's the happy
yeah,
hormones. It's nice outside now. It's a little
yeah,
chill, put a little extra layer on. The chill's good for the soul, you know. But like doing all that stuff, rediscovering stuff that you like to do as a child. I picked up a coloring book. I got some color pencils. I haven't colored in 20 years. And I'm back doing it, because that's the part of healing your inner child, making sure that they're safe. I got my inner child out of that house. So I'm here now. I have my space where I can just focus in and have fun. I have a little studio, so it's like a little creative cave. That's what I call it. But you just have to really just let loose and do what feels right to you. Forget the judgment of other people, because at the end of the day, they're not dealing with what's going on within your mind. You have to do what's right for you.
yes, yes. And I love that. I love that inner child play. I was actually right before we did this, I was upstairs doing the puzzle. Like
Yes.
you have to like that. That's why I'm always
Mhm.
hiking. Like that
Yeah.
is like
Which
you have
shout
to.
out to you. Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things to do now. Yes. Thank you.
It's really important to cultivate, your
Hmm.
own. You cannot, in a system where things have been taken from us perpetually, you
Hmm.
cannot rely on it also to provide you the healing. You cannot heal where you have been hurt.
Yep.
It's very, very, like, I don't want to say impossible, but it's extremely difficult, you know,
Yes.
um, to constantly expect like a handout or for something to, just happen the way it would for other types of individuals. Like
Hmm.
you're gonna have to put the work in for yourself. You have to find your self-worth. When I did the This Is Jane project, that's what is just it really inspired me, even when you said like wash your ass, like There's
Hmm.
days when like people, you would wonder why is my room messy? I thought I loved myself. Why are my clothes, whatever? I thought and you slowly break it down and it's like, nah,
Hmm.
you're just going through the motions. Like
Yeah.
you're just going through the whole, the cycle. And
Yeah.
you have to realize you're worth it. You're worth fixing. You're not stuck in a certain type of life. You
Hmm.
know, you have free will. You have the option
Absolutely.
to do these things and, to create a platform for yourself even and speak like, you actually have a podcast as well. Season 2, right, is coming up. Uh,
Yep. Miseducation of the people.
yes.
So it debunks a lot of different things that we're taught within society and the school system. So, just really putting that real information out there, like stuff that we should have been learned about. But, it's not really coming into play. And so really just be a non-traditional educational tool to advance Black people. Other people can listen to it, but don't expect to be catered towards you because it's not for you because, ultimately the system doesn't have anything provided to us that fits us. Everything is one size fits all. That's all it is really. But I want to actually go back to what you said before about the clutter. So psychologically, clutter your space. It's kind of a reflection of what's going on within your mind. When you're at your desk, if it's cluttered, it's great for creativity, but when it comes to productivity, it's not good. So tidy up a little bit, and that'll help you to move forward. And these are some tips that I also do provide within my podcast, and Miseducation to People. And one thing I just really want to tell people is that it begins with a mindset shift. Everything that I'm doing now is because I had that mindset shift. Before I was on, why is this happening to me? I
Hmm.
thought that I was doing everything right that society told me to do. However, I had to change my mindset from why is this happening to me to this is happening for me. I had to find the lessons within everything. And I had to
Yes.
see what were those repeated mistakes that are keep me within the same thing. So that's all of a part of it. And, I give the motivational piece during the podcast. I have some comedy stuff. I'm a fake comedian in my mind. I'll be on there singing a little bit. So it's more so, it's not all just fun, mental health stuff. We do that. But, we're talking about sex. I'm talking about I call them the former fuckboy chronicles, where I just learned about from my past and I provide those lessons out there. So, it's dope, and we have some very big people coming up this season. So I'm very excited for it. And we're adding videos onto it too. So, just really expanding it because, out here trying to make a change, trying to get to the
Hold the
bag.
hold the phone. Former fuckboy chronicles.
Yes.
What?
Back in the day, I'm delivered now.
Yeah. Well, I will say that you do have inspirational shirts in regards to like protect her. I own a
Right?
protect her shirt and things
Yes,
like
yes.
that. So there is real talk session series merch that is about empowering women. So when you
Hmm.
had just said this fuckboy chronicles, I know
Hmm.
this is a segue, but I did not expect this.
Yeah. My life nowadays is living in repentance. That's the thing. In order you do something, you make a mistake, you learn from it, and then you have to repent. You can't just say sorry. You have to actually change up. That's the main thing. So that's what
Yes,
I'm on now.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
you know
delivered.
what?
I'm delivered.
I'll give you one because I was a notorious fiery, angry, I don't want to
You mean
say
the cancer?
violent. Ha ha ha. Like, but no, really, I used to be like, and you can ask people because somebody had even come back and they had said to me after not talking to me for years, like, I wish everybody could see who you really are. And I was like,
An amazing
oh,
person.
when I did all that bad stuff to those people and I apologized and then also changed my behavior and changed the whole situation and how I approach it,
Hmm.
like, yes, I did do those things, but we always have the ability to change who we are and what we want.
Bingo. Yep.
Always have the opportunity.
Yep.
And
And it's usually those people who have not evolved or still stuck in their mindset that bring up the past and keep that past version of yourself. So
mhm.
that's one thing I had to learn. Like, okay, if you want my old stuff, stay in the past, but I'm the new person now. You're gonna miss out.
Yeah, and it's and I don't, and again, I'm always going to keep throwing this in there, like, and you could get triggered and fall back into old things, and but it's about catching yourself.
Mhm.
It's about realizing you are doing better, and giving yourself a bit of grace
Absolutely.
and care, because this is one thing that really resonated with me on my healing journey. You don't sit there and yell at a baby because it doesn't know how to walk. You don't sit
Yep.
there and go, "Why aren't you walking? You need to walk." No, you don't do that. You have to love and nurture it. Just like you're not going to feed a newborn Doritos, and
Mhm.
nothing wrong with Doritos. She ain't got, they didn't sponsor
As long as it's not a
tortilla
little pie.
chips. Like, you wouldn't sit there and feed all this junk food to a newborn baby.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to do anything to cultivate yourself, you have to realize you are essentially that child. You are
Hmm.
essentially that baby. And you need to do everything that you can to nurture it and cultivate it, because getting my ass beat didn't teach me nothing except for, okay, don't tell my parents anything. Like,
Yep.
don't don't be yourself. Don't cry. Don't tell them anything.
Hmm.
And what did that do? Create a whole lifetime of really bad decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. And like one thing that you brought up, Jay, that I like was grace. I didn't really understand what grace was until probably like this past summer, like last summer, like to truly understand what it meant. Because, extending grace to myself, I didn't know what I was doing back in the day. Other people may not know until you actually speak on it. But then once you get that one grace pass, that's your ass. Oh, that kind of rhymed. That kind of rhymed. But but yeah, that's that's the thing. Like people do not have the same experiences, the same knowledge set that you may have. So once you educate them, enlighten them, after that, that's on them. That's their mistake. So, you get that one grace pass, I let you know, then it's a wrap. And even for your past self, because healing isn't linear, there's ups and downs. So we have to be graceful to ourselves. For me, I live with many years of shame and guilt because of everything I did, especially like with my former fuckboy days, like just not realizing that that was a byproduct of all the childhood trauma that I faced. I was out here running around in chaos. I was bleeding out on everyone because I didn't realize that I was even hurt. I didn't realize it. And that's one thing I had to learn to extend grace. And once I was able to forgive myself, then that's when I was truly able to grow and evolve. So, emotional intelligence plays a very big role in that, but we aren't taught that, you know?
We are. I want to add to what you said. You're like, when you give it to other people and whether they take it or not, you have to also understand comprehension is key. Not everybody can comprehend.
Yep.
I go and I have tea every now and then with, I'm going to say her name a million times, Feng Chao, and she was a former Buddhist nun. And I just sit and I just listen to all the things that she has to say. And I'm like,
Hmm.
see, the thing is like, this is comprehension. She may not be able to get her message across to people and whatever, but I was like, but you have to understand, like, if you never learned English, I would never have understood anything you were talking about, like
Hmm.
anything at all. And now I get to know what you mean. You would have been saying the same thing in Chinese, and I would not have understood you because I
Yeah.
could not comprehend it. And that's the same thing with people when they have a fixed mindset, which is like a victim mentality,
Hmm.
versus a growth mindset, which is this, how did you say it? Things are happening for me, rather than to me. You
Hmm.
know, that's the difference between the two of them, and people cannot comprehend it. And for the longest time, I was the person go, they think they're better than me. You think you're
Hmm.
better than me? Holier than that. That was my phrase. Holier than thou.
Hmm.
Ew. They can. How dare they think that? And it's
Yeah.
like, how dare they not think that? Like, how dare you try to squash somebody because you can't even understand? You can't understand your own self worth, so you can't even understand how somebody can value themselves.
Hmm.
And that was a big, like, once I realized that, and you could take all that blame away
Hmm.
from other individuals too. You don't give them power anymore, and you realize it's all within you, yo. It's
Hmm.
all within you.
Yeah.
Like,
One thing I realize is that you can only think to the level of which you are exposed. if you've never been exposed to it, then you can't explain it or understand it. And one thing I always say is like the first caveman that left the cave and he saw that bright ass sun, he's like, "What is this? What's going on?" Then he saw a whole brand new world out there. Then when he
Hmm.
came back to describe what's going on to the people in the cave, they couldn't understand because all they knew was that darkness, the cave, the dampness and whatnot. So, it's one of those things of you have to be ready to take that journey of exploration on your own. You can lead a person to the water, but you can't make them drink ultimately. So, it's all about just being there for the support, not overextending yourself. But if they ask and they're actually showing an honest attempt, then yes, you can go ahead and help them out. But at the same time, it's like, I'm not doing the work for you. So that's the main thing, boundaries,
That's yeah.
boundaries, boundaries.
Boundaries are a huge thing. I wish I should have wrote down the name of the book before we started this, but it was literally I went on Audible. If you want to sponsor me, Audible, let me know. I went on Audible and I downloaded this book about boundaries, and this she was a LCSW.
Mm,
And she broke it down, like would be like, okay, this is the situation, you're at the bar and this is what happening, is this what is the boundary crossing, A, B, C, or D, and give you time to answer. And
mm,
it blew my mind, so many things I was answering incorrectly, or not incorrectly, like she would give you a version of it,
mm.
and it was like it was, somebody just wrote me a message that threw me all off. Um, what was I saying? Oh
uh, my mind's trash too. It's all good. Boundaries, the book, boundaries, the book.
no! And so you would learn about the versions, like, well, what is your boundary? Your boundary is
Mm,
not the same, thing for like everybody's boundaries are different.
mm,
And to realize that, and what the actual boundary was, and then you were able to apply it for life, and then you can see that it's like, oh shit, like this is what I've been doing, this is how we have to change. It's like it really
mm.
changed my, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and boundaries are not easy.
And like a lot of it stems from codependency issues as a child. Because if you don't have that emotional attachment or you didn't get that emotional attention as a child, you're going to crave that. You're going to do everything you can to get that from other people, which results
Hmm.
in you not having boundaries or crossing your boundaries or not honoring your boundaries. So,
Hmm.
it's one of those things of just standing strong within your power, realizing that it's like a cup. You should only be pouring from your overflow. You should never be going actually into the actual cup. Sometimes you need to recharge. If you need to recharge, that's fine. That's not their problem. That's not your problem at all. Like that's life. It's going to happen. There's four seasons. Winter's going to happen eventually. So,
Yeah,
it's one of
you're
those things,
that
take care of yourself.
absolutely right. And it's just all of these things you're saying. I was just literally listening to, I think I was actually watching a tarot card reading or horoscope last night,
Mm,
and that was one of the cup cards was that, like, you cannot, like, your cup needs to overfloweth into other people's cups versus
hmm.
you pouring your actual cup out. And that is
Absolutely.
something that I did not understand. I thought it was, okay, we got to full, let's start pouring.
Hmm.
Then once we get down to,
Replenish.
halfway, let's replenish. And it's like, nah, like that's gonna kill you long term. That's not going to behoove you
Hmm.
for, the rest of your life. Like you're just gonna be running on empty and feeling resentful to people. That's when you feel resentful to people. And it's
Yep.
because you did it to yourself. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with anyone else. It was you. You did it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And that's something you brought up too about being disappointed in people. Oftentimes we have something that's going on and we don't communicate it to others, or we think that the people know automatically. And by not communicating verbally, you are creating a narrative within your mind, or they may be creating a narrative in their mind. Unspoken things build stories, and some stories can be grand, some stories can be small. So, it's one of those things of really just being open and talking about what's going on. You don't have to go in depth, but when it comes to boundaries, you have to really I kind of lost my train of thought. So my brain is mush.
I'm smoking for you. I forgot.
Yes, yes, yes. Shotgun through the phone. Fool. But yeah, it's one of those things of, just being strong within yourself, recognizing when you need to recharge, because you're going to get those reminders from your body, but we don't
Yeah.
pay attention. Because I noticed for me, if I'm stressed out, I start feeling a tingle in my left arm. It feels tight, or I feel tightness in my bodies. Even though you don't think you feel stress, your body holds stress too, and that's a part of it. So if you have certain parts of your body that hurt sometimes when you got a lot of stuff going on, that can be a part of stress. And I learned that stress can manifest physically in your body when I went to the hospital in 2019. So I was having pain in my left shoulder, pain over my heart, felt dizzy, was constantly hearing rings, feeling like I was fatigued, like pass out any given time. And I went to the hospital, and I'm like, "Am I going to have a heart attack? Like, what's going on?" And they said, "You're physically nothing's wrong with you." And I'm like, "Huh?" Then I realized the power of stress. So society teaches us to go, go, go. Like Rihanna said, work, 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 work. Nah,
Mhm.
like that's not the case. You have to really slow down. We live in a very masculine society, and for those out there who talking about masculine, like talking about go, we're not talking about physically. Like always pushing forward, always driving, not taking rest. I had to tap more into my feminine side to slow down, meditate, to really ponder. And that's when stuff came to me. Like I wasn't balanced at all. So that's one thing that you really have to just realize, that it's not always just pushing forward. Sometimes you have to stop, recharge your cup, even. So, but yeah, we
Yeah.
the society that teaches us just keep going, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a patriarchal society, and that is the you have to be king at all time. It's out, you know what? Not even that. I will say it's more of the capitalist mark that you have to always be
Hmm.
productive.
Yep.
You have to look at what other people have and gauge yourself based on them. You have to be a worker. It's a very go, 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 go. And I think also to that allows us to avoid our problems because we
Yep.
could just pop another project on and forget about the heartache that we're experiencing or the depression we're going through. Oops, damn, I'm over
Hmm.
here talking. Okay, that was my little alarm to let me know. I didn't even get to talk about any of the other stuff. Hold up. So, can you tell me about this esports educational thing?
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. So I'm actually a esports coach at Morgan State University, but with esports, it is a multi-billion dollar, that's with a B, billion-dollar industry, and majority of our black and brown kids are playing video games all the time. However, we don't share a big part of that market share. So right now it's prime time for black and brown people to get into this, because you have big corporations that are funding. Just this past weekend, they had a Fortnite tournament for HBCU students. The winner won $10,000 and the institution got $50,000. So there's a real space in there. So I always encourage people to go back to your childhood, and play video games. And I had actually the Real Talk Session Series, at Real Talk Session Series. You can follow us. First week throughout April, we have our esports educational video series coming out. That's going to break down everything of what it is, and then how you can actually get involved. Because people think about it's just video games. Someone has to draw the video game. There's voiceover work. There's marketing. There's sales. So there's a lot of different outlets for us to get into this billion-dollar industry and to get this bag. Because at the end of the day, we have to start doing what comes easy to us. We've been playing video games. Just like with cannabis, it came easy to us because we had to survive. So using those talents and moving into those markets to just take over and thrive, instead of staying in survival mode. So that's what's going on with esports, and that is called Game On in conjunction with Future First Gaming.
Okay, cool. And then the other thing that you have going on is you have a book coming out in
Yes,
August.
yes, yes. So it is called Rebirth of the Phoenix, and it's pretty much talking about my life story, but also has lessons within it. So if you like some of the stuff that I was talking about with mental health and like with childhood trauma and overcoming that, that's really going to be in there. I have some heavy stories in there, some big stuff. Definitely a story of resilience, but my main thing is just providing people with the tools who may be going through something, who are suffering in silence, to be able to really get through. And then this is going to be the flagship thing. So I'm going with the adults, and then in the future I have something coming for the kids too. So just a lot of stuff going on, stepping in my foot into the author world. So you know,
Okay,
hmm
cool. Thank you for sharing that with us. If
no problem.
anybody would like to find out more about Taryn or purchase merchandise from a Real Talk Session series, you can visit realtalksessionseries.org. Did I get it right?
Yep, you did. You did.
I'm like, I know it's a .org. Yeah, and on there you can purchase any of the merchandise. You can listen to the podcast is starting up in April though, right?
Whenever I start recording, so probably April, that's when it's gonna start back up. But go ahead, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Please leave some reviews. I have extra credit episodes. So it's probably about 40 or yeah, about 40 episodes you can listen to, 20 officially episodes. And then I have extra credit content that has a lot of different stuff. So yeah.
Thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Taryn, for sharing. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate real mental health advocacy.
Yes, yes.
People actually doing things, not just saying, "Hey, mental health." Like you are actually helping people
I
see
appreciate it.
that they can change, and I appreciate you. All
Thank
right.
you, Jade. Thank you,
Thank
Honeysuckle Magazine.
you.
Appreciate you, definitely.
Yes. And we will chat again. Everybody check out the article. If you didn't, the link is in my bio, I believe, on RX MaryJade. You can read that about Taryn and find out more about it as well. All right. Take care, guys, and enjoy your Monday.
Later.
Wait, I did it wrong.